Hello folks, and a warm welcome. You're tuned in to my meditation, the indoor series. My name's Guy Cross, and I'll be introducing you to some interesting people with some interesting ways of using the indoors to help sustain a healthy frame of mind. Sometimes, especially for outdoor lovers or people who can't physically leave the house, it can be hard to keep yourself occupied while confined to your home. I've always been curious as to how other people used indoor hobbies and activities to take care of themselves, and that curiosity led to the birth of this podcast series. My guests will talk about their favourite indoor hobby, and will go into depth of how it helps them find peace of mind. Hopefully one of, if not many of the hobbies within this series will help you, or at the very least inspire you. And that's the whole aim of these podcasts, to fill you with ideas that maybe you hadn't thought of before, and to hear some positive, encouraging, real-life stories from my guests. Sometimes, just hearing someone else's perspective on a hobby or activity gives you a fresh new way of looking at it, which can't be a bad thing, right? So without further ado, let's meet this week's guest. Hello everybody, and this week we're talking to Tim, who comes from Toronto in Canada. He played soccer and tennis from a young age, which led to coaching tennis for several years. He then graduated and worked several years as a clinical kinesiologist. While in university, Tim also trained in martial arts, more specifically Jeet Kune Do and Eskrima. He took a break from this for a while, but a little later in life got back into mixed martial arts. That was specifically Muay Thai boxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. During the pandemic, Tim has been unable to train, so he began a podcast to break the monotony. He's been doing this weekly since February 2021, with amazing guests from all over the world within the sports industry. And just recently, Tim's bagged himself a gig on Filipinos TV's Sports Weekly programme, which airs across Canada on cable TV. So, thanks Tim for joining us today.
Hey, thanks so much, Guy.
No worries, buddy. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm glad to talk to you, and I've been a long-time listener of your podcast, so I'm really honored to be a guest.
Oh man, that means a lot. Thanks a lot, and thanks for tuning in to past episodes. That means a lot.
For sure.
The first question I've got you actually is, what is a clinical kinesiologist? I can just about say it.
No. First off, the first part to becoming a clinical kinesiologist is being able to say clinical kinesiologist. So that's good. It's actually rehabilitation. So generally, it's like physiotherapy. It's the study of the human body and human movement. And so, as a kinesiologist, I was working in clinics, treating people who suffered injuries, normally as a result of car accidents, but could also be workplace accidents or just, injuries that you have over time, or maybe through playing sports or through martial arts. You get injured, and it was just about helping people get back to function.
Okay. And did you get into that because you were kind of into sports yourself?
Yeah, actually, growing up, I had, like you had mentioned in the intro there, I grew up playing competitive soccer and tennis my whole life. And then, it was just always such a part of me and part of helping people and coaching. And so I transitioned into coaching tennis maybe just before university, I guess. And then throughout my university career and even a little bit beyond, I was coaching kids, coaching adults. It was such a great time, helping people and letting them learn a skill. And most of coaching is actually really just mental. The technical part is there, but it's really about getting people to understand the mental aspect of the game or the sport or whatever it is you're teaching. And you get to know people really close, and you get to, know about people's, personal lives and their professional lives, because that you're spending so much time with them. And in doing that, I think I decided I wanted to do something in my future that meant helping people or being around people. And kinesiologist program was something that I saw that I thought would lend my skills towards. You can, through kinesiology, you can also be athletic trainers, sports therapists. So there's lots of different avenues you can go once you're in there. And so I saw that as a real great opportunity. And the university that I went to in Canada was York University, and they actually had special programs in kinesiology. So I was in a coaching program where I was actually doing a lot of tennis coaching for the university as well at the same time.
Nice. Yeah.
So it blended everything.
Yeah, exactly. And while you were studying, that's when you got into mixed martial arts. Is that right?
Yeah, I had always wanted to do it as a child, but I was always so busy with, soccer and tennis. Like literally, guy, there was not one day that I wasn't playing a sport. It was one or the other.
Yeah.
I'd be super happy if there'd be a day where I could just sit at home and play video games. But so I never got to do martial arts. Obviously as kids we all watch it. We watch the movies, we watch, all the action on TV. And it was always something I wanted to do. But when it came to university, I was finally at campus. There was a guy that set up that had a school that he brought to the university for a few days a week. And I saw the ads. I think it was my first year of university. I saw the ads. I was like, man, I've always wanted to do this. And it was like right after class, like right after labs. So I signed up. And I got hooked, man. That the guy was great. He was a great instructor, scary dude. He reminded me, he looks exactly like the bad guy coach from Karate Kid. Do you remember John Kreese? Like the main bad guy? Okay.
Yeah.
I literally thought it was him, guy. He looked the same, had the same kind of haircut, the same look, and he was mean as heck. Like if you messed up a technique, he would have you on the ground, like with some weird pressure point hold. And man, he was great. But he just instilled, he instilled fear, but he instilled respect, and he instilled, discipline. And it was just something that I had never had in my life. So it was a really cool experience. And I stuck with that for quite some time.
Nice. And why specifically did you choose Jeet Kune Do and Eskrima at that time? I mean, I don't know the difference between any of them, to be honest with you. So
yeah, so
that's why I'm asking that question.
No worries. So Jeet Kune Do is the martial art that actually Bruce Lee developed, and it was actually a combination of many of the martial arts that Bruce Lee studied throughout the years. And I apologize if I'm getting this wrong to any martial arts historian, but that is generally the story. So it was kind of like the Bruce Lee type martial art. It was the martial art that this instructor and it was the martial arts that he was training. So that was what it was. And Eskrima, for those that don't know, it's also known as like Kali or the Filipino fighting sticks. It's like two kind of wooden batons. If you're a comic book nerd, it's what Nightwing uses. So if that might help any of your fans, Guy, I don't know.
Doesn't help me, but it might help some of my fans. Yeah.
All right.
I'll Google that one.
Yeah, so it was just about what he was teaching, and so it was great. It's a lot of flow. It was a lot of like when you watch Bruce Lee movies, when you'll see when the person will punch and he'll kind of defend it with one hand and then flow in with the other right hand kind of thing. It's a lot of flowing type movements. So it was just very, we're on this podcast about meditation, but it was very peaceful for the mind. Even like he would have you doing drills where it was almost you were reacting subconsciously to the movements, and it was like a lot about flow and touch, and so it was very interesting. It wasn't just punch kick. It was a lot of flow, so it was nice.
Yeah. I mean, that was going to be my next question, actually. I know it's very physical and in that kind of way, but did you also use it as like a way of releasing tension, relaxing your mind? I know that sounds stupid when it's kind of like a fighting thing, but
yeah, no, not at all. And I think that's why, like, with that kind of flowy method that the martial art was. And, this was when I'm in university. So, I mean, you're stressed out, you're, going through all your studies and whatever. You need some sort of outlet, not just for your, energy to be an outlet, but you needed something to kind of calm your mind. And in a strange way, this martial art, although, aggressive and attacking and whatnot, it was a peaceful thing for your mind, because you're able to just kind of lose the surroundings, lose everything else, like forget about your studies, forget about that, go in here, practice this one art, and then lose yourself to it for that hour or the couple hours that you'd be doing it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And how many years did you do that for?
So that was, so his name was Dale Johns. He's passed away now, so rest in peace to Dale. Probably at least a good 5 or 6 years, probably, because it was all throughout university, and then a little bit after that. His school was rather far away from my home, but I continued to train with him, during
Yeah.
summers and then even after university. Yeah, it was just a great time.
Uh-huh. And did you take that professionally? Did you go into competitions and that kind of thing?
No, no, never. Back then, I'm an old guy. And back then, I don't know, competition. It wasn't as prevalent as it is now. Like even martial arts as a whole, like mixed martial arts, what people know today as UFC or ONE FC or
Yeah.
Bellator. That wasn't really around so much back then. Not to the extent that it is now. So there weren't really as many competitions. I remember doing some competitions in university for the Cali, for the Eskrima, as well as for knife fighting. We were learning like Filipino knife fighting. Um, and so there'd be competitions there, so we do things like that, but never too much, never to like the degree that I was doing soccer and tennis competitions around.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and you also mentioned like you gave it a break for a little while and then you got back into mixed martial arts a little bit later, but you got into Muay Thai and boxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that time.
Yeah, so for a while, then life kind of happens, and you go into the workforce and you start working and doing normal adult stuff. And I kind of got out of it. And then after a while, I'm not gonna lie, as UFC and mixed martial arts became more popular and I was watching it a lot on TV, I was like, I kind of want to go back to this. Like I missed it. And I was lucky enough to find a school close by that taught, like you said, Muay Thai, boxing, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, had a whole slew of different classes, and it was a good place, good vibes, a very friendly, homey environment, and hooked up with them, and I've been there ever since. So I think I don't know, almost 10 years ish, almost.
Wow, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, I guess a lot of people think of like boxing and martial arts and things like as an energetic, physical thing. But yeah, after what you've just said there, it can be used as a great release, can't it? A great, great for the mind, good for the mental health, basically.
Oh yeah, for sure. You've got a whole bunch, I know this podcast is about meditation, and so you think that we're going to talk about more peaceful type things, Guy.
Yeah, that's
But
what I mean. It's good. It's nice.
yeah, but I think, martial arts allows for an outlet of energy. I think we all have pent up anger or pent up aggression, or, you can go through a hard day of work and you feel like I've got, I'm just angry about things or frustrated with things. And then that can be in your normal life too. You can have things that are happening in your life with family or friends or just, whatever it is, finances, who knows. And being able to go to the gym on the one hand and being able to release that energy in a positive and constructive way, and heck, it's fun, Guy. It's fun, like having someone hold those pads in front of you and you punching them or kicking them, like it's fun,
Yeah,
and then beyond that, you're learning a very valuable skill. I will say that, when you go into martial arts, you definitely come out with a better sense of yourself in order to feel like you can protect yourself or to feel less vulnerable, and I'm not going to say it's not for guys, like even for guys too, right? You'll feel a better sense, but for women, especially, or as well, women that may feel nervous or concerned about their own safety if someone were to attack them, this gives you a sense of confidence, which I don't know that anything else really can. So
yeah,
there's that as well.
yeah. There's loads of good benefits from it by the sound of it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
I
then,
had a few. I had a few classes in Chester when I lived there for a few years. I didn't carry it on. Actually, I went for maybe about 10 classes, but I really did enjoy it. It was very physical, quite demanding, but
yeah.
at the end of it, you just felt this sense of kind of peace. I'd walk home from the class and I just feel really quite peaceful. Even though I've just had quite a rigorous kind of session, but
Oh yeah.
I still came out of there feeling in like a peaceful frame of mind.
Yeah. It definitely releases endorphins. You definitely get a sense of calmness and whatnot afterwards. I mean, one of the things too about being in a martial arts gym is that sense of community, that sense of family. So you start to realize that the people around you share the same interests or the same desires. And so as you progress and as you do better, you start to feel more at one with everybody as well. So It's definitely, yeah, it's definitely good in many different ways.
Yeah, yeah. And moving on, I mean, sadly, we try not to mention the pandemic on these podcasts, to be honest with you, but you know, it's kind of affected you in the means that it stopped you from your training, didn't it? So you had to think of other ways to kind of help your mental state. So do you want to let the listeners know kind of what you turned to through the pandemic and how it's helped you?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think, it was really strange when the pandemic hit. My wife and I were just coming back from vacation, and we didn't even really know what was happening. And we were at the airport, and I remember it said, if you're going back to the United States, or if you're flying to the United States and you are not a United States citizen, you may not be allowed entry. And we were like, what the heck's happening in the world, right? Because we were just on a
Yeah.
week-long all-inclusive vacation. You don't have any clue what's happening in the world around you. And so we get back to Canada, and sure enough, that's right when COVID kind of hit at its peak, and everything started closing down. And one of the first things to close down was the gym, and maybe even before it closed down, I think people stopped going because people started getting nervous about what was going on. So yeah, it's been now almost 2 years at the time of recording this that things are still kind of up and down. I mean, they've opened gyms here and there, but even when they did, people were a little bit nervous to go back. But yeah, so pretty much after almost 1 full year of the pandemic, and trying to work out at home and trying to do stuff, and didn't really have any outlets, to continue to engage in the extracurricular activities that we liked, my friend and I decided we would begin a podcast. And we started a podcast in February of 2021, and it's called the Fight in Sight podcast. It's all about mixed martial arts, but is not just for those people that are hardcore into it. We talk about things from a very high level, so anybody can really enjoy it. It's a good time. It's a lot of joking around and goofing around. And every week, we didn't think that this would happen, Guy, but every week we have a guest from around the world of mixed martial arts, professional fighters, professional coaches, amateur fighters. And we talk to them about their lives and what they're doing. It's not just the typical, how are you going to win this fight? What is your training like? It's like, we talk to them about everything. Like, how's your life? What do you enjoy doing outside the cage? Like, what brought you to this life? How are things going? So we try to talk to people about everything. And I think that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah. No, it's a great idea. I mean, it's very similar to the reason I started mine up. It was a way of kind of interacting with people and finding out how they're, I don't know, dealing with the situation that we're in, and that kind of thing. And it seems like the same for you. There's been how many thousands of people that go to the gym, and it's just been taken away from them. It's like, what do you do next? So at least you've been able to connect with people in similar situations, right? And talking to one another, and yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it was a way, really, I mean, for myself, my co-host's name is Prince. So Prince and I both trained at the same gym. And it was a way for both of us to kind of re-engage back with that community. Because in all honesty, we had kind of lost touch with them, right? Like, aside from, Instagram or doing whatever, or like we said, like some virtual virtual classes or whatever you were partaking in during the pandemic. You really lost that whole sense of community. You lost your outlet of social interaction. You lost that, camaraderie with your team or with your friends. So the podcast was a way for us to get back utilizing martial arts as a way, that's the niche, but it got us back to talking with our friends and engaging about something that we loved, about a topic that we love, but just to kind of interact and get back with the community. And sure enough, many of the first several guests that we had on the podcast was one of the personal trainers there, Robbie. He's a great guy. We had a massage therapist who trains at the gym, Dylan. We had our friend Brandon came on. So it was a way for us to kind of get back and re-engage with those people and have fun with them again.
Yeah. And just going back to like the moment where, all the gyms are just closed and you were kind of struggling a little bit with what to do, and, and then you started up your podcast. Once you started your podcast and started talking to people about things and this and that, did you find that your mental health improved with that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I don't know that I did it out of a sense of feeling like I needed that,
Uh-huh.
but I think definitely as it grew, and it grew quickly, the amount of effort and time and work that I had to put into keeping this podcast going and to improving it and making it better, it really engulfed me, and it gave me a sense of purpose,
Yeah.
aside from everything else, obviously, that you have in life and the things that you like to do and things like that. But definitely where the void came from not being able to engage in martial arts, this definitely filled that. And it gave, a sense of direction or purpose to your extracurricular activity that was, yeah, definitely, Guy, it's definitely fulfilling, right? And I think also there's a sense of bringing joy or happiness to our listeners. We
Yeah.
get a lot of positive feedback, or we engage with some of the fans and things like that on a regular basis, and to hear them say, hey, I really enjoy listening to this. It's that once a week I get that 1 hour of listening to you guys goof around and interview cool guests and things like that. I think, it makes you feel good, because again, going back to like my beginnings of wanting to coach people or wanting to help people like through healthcare, it's a way that you're kind of bringing something to people as well. And you're helping people in some tiny, small way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the reason I asked that question is because you're the first podcaster I've kind of interviewed, who's got a similar kind of thing going on. So I was just wondering how you felt
Hmm.
after you started up, because personally, and I guess it's because of the subjects I talk about maybe, but after every podcast I do, I always feel a sense of gratitude for life, because everyone's got like a story to tell about how they've been down in life and then they've kind of gotten through it with their specific hobby or interest, and just talking to people like that and the guests that I've had on, it just makes you feel so good.
Oh
Just
yeah,
it's
for
it,
sure.
like I say, people go down in life, they have dark times, and then when they tell you how they kind of gotten themselves out of it, um, and they've used the power of the outdoors and just hobbies and interests rather than going down the medication route, it's just so eye opening, and it's just been great to connect with so many people all around the world now as well. It started off with people
Yeah.
in the UK, and now I'm talking to you from Toronto. It's great,
Yeah.
it's really cool, it's really nice. So yeah, I'm just thankful that I started it up, and I'm sure you're feeling the same right there.
Oh yeah, like I said, I mean, every time we have a guest, I always think, man, does this guest know like how small we are? Like, does this guest know, like
Yeah.
I can't believe sometimes the guests that come on. I met you through a group on LinkedIn, and I don't know if you know, but there's a body language expert, one of the world's leading body language experts, Mark Bowden, who's very
Okay.
popular on LinkedIn, but all over the world. He came on our podcast, to talk about
Wow.
body language and when fighters have standoffs. And he was kind of analyzing some fighters' body language, which I thought was so cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like we have some of these guests, that I'll tell you after the podcast, I'll record it in my basement, and then when the podcast is over, I walk upstairs and my wife is there. She's saying, "How did it go? Like, was it good? How was the guest?" And I mean, I don't know. It's got to be 100% of the time I'm super ecstatic. Like I'm
Yeah.
always so thrilled and excited. I'm like, I can't believe I got to speak to this person, and yeah, the
Uh-huh.
interview was amazing, and I can't believe what they shared, or it was just such a fun time. Like, you meet these people that you've seen on television or you've read about, and there would have never been a reason for me to speak to these people in real life, Guy, but
Yeah. Yeah.
here with this podcast, I'm getting to do that. And I mean, it's such a thrill and an honor to me to do it, but yeah, it gives you a real sense of joy and a sense of accomplishment, and just, yeah, like just happiness, just, I don't know other way to say it, but just happiness.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever thought when we were doing this podcast, when we started, that that is what I would get out of this. I was kind
Yeah.
of doing it just out of boredom, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I never thought it would provide that sense of positivity or, those meditation like benefits
Uh-huh.
to me, or to any sense of the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. It really is, and yeah, it really is a good feeling, and especially when you get nice comments back or people saying, "Oh, I passed this on to my family member and they really enjoyed it. It's helped them along," and you think, "Oh, well, that's actually helped someone, even if it's just one person you've helped. It feels great, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, are there any other outdoors hobbies at the moment that you enjoy or would like to take part in? I know it's very difficult right now, but
No, I mean, I think my wife would like to say that I'm good at gardening, but I am not. So I'm not going to say that. Um, no, I think, I know some of your other guests have talked about like hiking and running and things like that on the outdoors. I mean, I do partake in that. That's something that I tried to do during the pandemic as well to kind of compensate for the lack of exercise that we were getting in and the lack of training. So, going for regular walks, I recently moved homes. And so my wife and I are right near a nice park area that, within a minute or a couple of minutes, we're kind of surrounded by forests that we can walk through. And it actually leads towards a really nice little old style part of town that we can walk to. So we've been partaking in that quite a bit. And I think that's just, really nice to get out in nature and enjoy yourself and get the fresh air. So yeah, I think that's, that for us, like the outdoor activity, that's pretty much it, going on some nice walks and just, leaving
yeah.
technology behind,
Yeah, exactly.
um,
That's all it takes sometimes, isn't it? To leave your phone behind, go for a little walk, even if it's just for 20 minutes, half an hour, and just get
yeah,
out into nature, and you just feel so much better, don't you? Well, I do personally, and I know many people do too.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, yeah, like, and I'm not gonna lie, Guy, I do like to go out for a run and listen to a podcast, maybe your podcast while I'm running, right? Because it's funny. I will say, during this pandemic, it was a weird time to start a podcast because I feel like most people listen to podcasts on their commute to work.
Yeah,
So, so it was funny because I'm like, I don't know that our audience is really even ready to consume what we're putting out there. So I will say I do like going out for walks or runs because I'm also able to listen to some podcasts that I would normally listen to.
yeah,
Um, but when I'm doing it with the wife, right, then
yeah,
yes, definitely leaving all the technology behind, forgetting
yeah.
about who's messaging you, who's liked your photos, who cares about that. What you want to do is just, spend quality time with one another and just be together, right?
Yeah, it's definitely good for the mind, It's just too easy to take things out with us these days, isn't it? With, like you say, technology, checking messages all the time and a quick live video here and there and stuff. But sometimes it's really nice to just be me, myself and I, isn't it? Just
Yeah,
looking
for
at that
sure.
view, just, yeah, personally speaking, anyway.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
um, but just moving on now, and kind of going back to martial arts, I guess, or podcasting. Has there ever been a time in your life where you've been feeling, really quite down and not very good, and you've used like martial arts or podcasting to get you through that really bad time?
Yeah, I think you know, during the earlier years of me joining my current gym now, so this was, after the university stint when I started, my grandmother and grandfather both started to decline in health. They were in their late 80s to 90s, and they had lived a great life, always healthy. I grew up with them. They lived in the same city as me. I mean, they were like grew up like 5 minutes away from me, so I was quite close with them. And they started to decline in health to the point where they needed to go to an assisted living home, and then eventually it was to a hospital setting. And you know, during that time, it was really difficult because you saw them from the vibrant, grandparents that you knew your whole life
Yeah,
to then where they were kind of like wheelchair bound, or when I would, pick them up to take them to the casino, it was, kind of a struggle to get them into the car or to get them out. And watching that kind of health decline was pretty difficult.
yeah, I can imagine.
As Yeah, as it would be for anybody, right? Like, I know we all go through this, but during that time, I think, I would try to do my best to visit them at least once or twice a week. And I know that might not sound like a lot, but man, when you're in that situation, it's weird. Like when they're, in a different home or far away. And so
Sure.
I would try to get to see them at least once a week for sure, and spend like a good couple hours with them, just talking or chatting, maybe watch the Maple Leafs game. I hope you know who the Toronto Maple Leafs are, Guy. The hockey team. No, don't know. That's okay.
No,
That's
I don't
okay.
actually.
Don't
I don't
worry.
follow hockey, honestly. That's kind of. It's not a UK thing. I'm going to back myself up here. It's not really a big UK thing, hockey
All
over
right.
here. So I
All right.
apologize in
All right.
advance for that.
The on behalf of all Canadians, we forgive you, Guy. So we'd watch a hockey game together, or a basketball game, or whatever it was, and spending that kind of quality time with them was really important to me.
Yeah.
But I will say that the mental toll that can take, witnessing one of your loved ones, your family, your grandparents, steadily declining to the point where they are going to pass away. It's really difficult. And I, greatly appreciated the relief or the outlet that the martial arts gave me to be able to go there the next day or maybe later that day, and then just kind of lose myself in that training. And, again, the physical exertion and just focusing on that, it kind of got your head out of those negative worries or those negative concerns. So that was always like a real great thing. And then not just that, but again, the camaraderie and the group of people that you're around. I mean, it's so important, not just in martial arts, but just in life, to surround yourself with good people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so by having that kind of outlet as well, right? Going to a place where you knew you had friends and people that you could, share stuff with, but also just lose yourself in the training with, was a very beneficial outlet for me during that time, and through that time up to their passing, and then beyond it. It was definitely a great outlet for me, and a sense of security.
Yeah. And like you said then as well, it's the community spirit as well, isn't it? Like you said, you can go there. If you were just going to go to a gym on your own and do martial arts, just kind of kicking a bag, maybe, you'd release your tensions and your stresses, but to have that community there where you can also exchange kind of problems, or just to encourage each other as well, isn't it? I guess that's really beneficial as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Doing it on your own. I mean, even like I'm saying, like we were talking about doing virtual classes and stuff like that. And again, if you can do it, all the power to you. But during the pandemic, trying to do an exercise class via my iPad, forget about it, Guy. even with my wife doing it next to me, it just wasn't the same. You didn't get the push, you didn't get the feel. There wasn't that environment of the other people struggling around you that pushed you. It was too easy to pretend that your iPad lost connection and just go back to sleep.
Yeah, that's right. That's the problem with trying to work out at home sometimes, isn't it? It's very easy to just do something like that. You have to give yourself a good kick up the back end, to keep going. Yeah,
for sure.
So why would you recommend martial arts to the listeners as a way of, as a meditation, I guess, as a way of kind of, helping you along with your mental health?
Yeah, well, I think we've kind of touched upon it. I think it's that physical exertion, the exercise component, the releasing of endorphins, all those things that just, take you away from what you may currently be dealing with. And it just gives you something to solely put your focus on. We talked just before about the benefits of walking outside and getting rid of technology.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? When you're doing your training, when you're punching and kicking or grappling someone, you're not checking your Instagram. There's none of that. Yeah. You're focused 100% on what you're doing, and I think that is the true benefit.
Yeah. You're in the moment, basically. You're in the now, right?
Yeah, you're forced to focus solely on that. And I will say, I apologize, Guy, but I will say also the podcasting aspect, in terms of the meditation and it being a meditation type outlet.
Yeah.
I think, you of anyone would know it as well, like we said, but even doing that, doing the podcasting for me, and obviously now the gyms are back to being open. So now I'm doing both. I'm doing the gym, I'm going back to my gym, but I'm also continuing strong on my podcast.
Yeah.
If you have some sort of passion or you have some sort of interest and you want to try podcasting, I would say that, I would have never thought it before. And I know that you're going to have listeners that are like, it's not for me. I don't know that how I would do it. You don't need to do it to release to the public even, right? You can do a podcast just for yourself, like just for like a video diary or like an audio diary for yourself, that just being able to talk and to talk about a subject or talk about your feelings or an issue for an hour, even less, like half an hour.
Yeah.
But just to do it, I think you can get a lot out of it. Like it's almost like a self form of therapy or a self form of meditation that, again, it zones you in, it focuses you on something. And I think that people might get a lot of real benefit from that.
Yeah. No, I agree 100% with everything you just said. It's, yeah, and especially for the kind of subject I've got, I think because of the kind of people I speak to, I come off the phone and I just think, wow, I just feel so grateful and so, yeah, I just can't explain it really. It's just nice to connect with people who, just real people basically that have gone through stuff and they're pushing forward. They're so positive with given certain situations they've been through and. And then again, it's once they're released, then isn't it? And then the public enjoy that chat, and it's just an all-round great thing, really, isn't it? And like you said, I never in a million years thought I would be doing a podcast. I'm not a good speaker. I'm not, I never thought I would ever do a podcast in my life, and here I am. And the same for you, like you said, you didn't think you would do such a thing, but once you start doing it, it's kind of that's it, isn't it? And like you say, anyone can do it, really. It's if you've got a good subject you want to talk about and you feel passionate about it, then and like you said, it takes your mind off things. It's you're focusing on, right, who can I talk to, and it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think just start. The hardest part about doing any of these things, the things that you talk about, Guy, in terms of meditation, because I've listened, like I said, I listen to your podcast regularly. I really enjoy it. A lot of times, the hardest thing about doing one of these meditation type activities, doing martial arts, doing podcasting, going for jogs, doing hiking, doing knitting, whatever it may be, is just starting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like just get it in your head that, hey, I'm just going to do it one time. Give yourself that target.
Yep.
And then let it take on a life of its own. I guarantee you that if you find the thing that you enjoy, or you find something that you are interested in and can just bring yourself to try it one time, go to that class one time, take that lesson one time, it will very likely grow into something that you never imagined.
Yeah.
You would never have thought that you would be so engaged in something or develop such an interest or an affinity towards something, but that will happen, but it starts with you taking that first step.
Exactly. It's so random that we're talking about this subject, because I was speaking to a friend on the phone a couple of hours ago, and he was telling me how he feels a bit stuck in life, and him and his wife and kids are trying to kind of get out of the rat race, and they're trying to do something as a family, and they want to start up a YouTube channel, and they want to show the world the next stage of their life. Basically, they want to go off-grid living and this, that. And I said exactly what you just said. I said, well, do the first thing, try and make one video.
Yeah.
Just make one video, take your child to somewhere, enjoy the day, document it, come back, put the video together, see how you feel. I said, just do one step at a time, because he was just like, I want to have, he just had the vision of being big, like from nothing to big, it's kind of impossible. I said, little steps, like just try it, just try it. And that's all I did. I just found someone to talk to, and then I recorded it, and I was like, wow, actually that was quite interesting.
Oh yeah.
It was quite, I fancy doing that. So it just continued from there.
Yeah, no, it's definite. I mean, it's that saying, right? Paralysis by overanalysis. Yeah. Or it's some form like that, right? Paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It's you can edit that, Guy. Make it sound really smart. But that's the thing, right? People will come to me and they'll say, holy cow, I can't believe you have a podcast. I can't believe you did it. I can't believe you have a podcast. And then my first reaction is always, well, yeah, I just hit record on the computer. Like, there's no genius to that, right?
Yeah.
that people think like, oh, to do that, I have to have everything planned. I have to have everything ready. No, you don't. Start small. Like you said, for that friend of yours that wants to do that video vlog, just hit record. Just do it the one time. It might not come out great. I'll tell you, on our podcast, we did, I think maybe 2 or 3 demo episodes, like where we were just doing it just for ourselves. We didn't want to release it. We said we just want to see how the computer works. Can we record? I mean, ours is an audio and video podcast, right? So it's on YouTube. So we wanted to record a couple just for ourselves, just to see how it went. And I'll tell you, within the 2 or 3, we're like, nah, this is good. Let's just put it out. Because we said, hey, once you had it going, and again, like I'm saying, once you had that little click, it took off a life on its own. And then right from then, we just started releasing weekly. I will also say, and this is a shameless plug, Guy, but to your friend that wants to do that off-grid living, there is a UFC fighter who's a great friend of our podcast. He's been on twice. His name is Brian Bam Bam Barberena. He's a Colombian American.
Okay.
He's a Colombian American. Great guy.
Yeah.
He's done exactly that. And he talks about it on our podcast. And we've had 2 episodes with him. So please go check it out. Fight Insight Podcast. Brian Barberena. Look for those episodes.
Absolutely will.
He talks about how he took his wife and 3 kids and they just left modern living and they now live on a farm. All they want to do is be sustainable amongst themselves.
Yeah.
Fishing, hunting, they have livestock. I mean, they are legit almost living off the grid. And it's crazy. And I asked him, I said, like, how did you do this? And he goes, I don't know. We just did it. We just look on YouTube and figure out how to do stuff. I mean, no experience in that. So is it possible? 100%. There are people doing it all the time. So to your friend, I would say, start taking those steps and you'll do it. You'll accomplish it.
Yeah. No, I'll definitely find them episodes and pass them on to him for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
He was stressing out quite a bit, so I think he'll be quite happy with them.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that's great. And the last question I've got for you really is whether you have a personal story of gratitude to share today, like a scenario or a moment in life where you've just felt really grateful for the most simple things in life.
Oh man.
I put you on the spot there.
Yeah. I feel like I had something planned and now I totally forget. But a moment of gratitude. I don't know if this really fits, Guy, but what I'll say is, through my career, I've had various mentors that I have used for my professional life.
Yep.
But oftentimes those mentors will give you nuggets that kind of relate to your overall life.
Yeah.
And on this podcast here, we're talking about meditation and we're talking about, finding ways to essentially relax, but essentially to be a better person, right? Like to try to improve yourself, I guess.
Yes.
And so one of my mentors one time, she was leaving. She was quitting her job. She was retiring. And so she said to me, Tim, I'm not going to be your mentor anymore. You got to find someone else to mentor you. And I said, okay. And so we started brainstorming on people that we knew within the company or, that we knew in common that we said could be a mentor for me. And it wasn't around technical aspects of my job. It was around just, being a leader or being a better person. Uh-huh. And she had recommended someone and I said, I don't know. This person has a different lifestyle. I don't know that they have the same career aspirations or life aspirations as I do. And I don't know that would be a real fit for me. I feel like they're too different. And her words that she said to me, Guy, have stuck with me for my whole life. And it was, Tim, you don't want your mentor to be just like you, because then you're going to end up being just like you. And you don't want to be like you, do you? And I was like, oh man, that is so painful, Guy, but so real, right? And so I think I've taken that for the rest of my life. She must have said that to me like at least 15 years ago, but I remember that so clearly. And the way I've internalized that is always that you have to look for things that you are uncomfortable with. Like you have to look for things that are not you. Don't look for the safe bet in things, but look for something that will challenge you or that will make you go outside your comfort zone. And the benefits that you can reap from that are huge.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Like you and I are saying, like we never thought we'd be out here doing podcasts, as successful or whatever as they are. I don't know that mine is at all, but
same.
But
but that's not the point, is it? Like that's not the point.
No,
that's
Yeah, exactly. Like it's about doing something. And so, to anybody listening to this podcast, what I would say is, look for things. If you hear something in Guy's podcast that you say, hey, I'd really like to do that, but I don't know if I can. Oh, there's a reason why I shouldn't. No, just go try it. Go do something. Look for something and try it. Something that's outside. Maybe you've never done martial arts and you want to do it. I'm telling you, young, old, male, female, it doesn't matter. There's always somewhere that will, be perfect for you. Oh, and whatever it is that you want to do, go try it. Go take that first step in trying something and becoming a better you. Maybe not a better you, but a different you, a happier you.
The you want to be, basically, the change that you want. Because that's what you're doing, essentially, isn't it? You want there's a change in, it might be a change in mood that you want for a certain day. So you go for a hike to change that mood, don't you? You can choose not to go for that hike, which is going to keep you in that same mood, or you can go for that hike, which is going to probably improve your mood, which is what you want.
Yeah.
So it's about making the effort and putting yourself out of that comfort zone. And that's what I say a lot to people, you've got to have a bit of risk in your life. You've got to push yourself past them boundaries. It's okay being in the bubble. It's all comfortable, isn't it? But then I think the better things in life are found outside of that bubble.
Exactly. You've got to put those shoes on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to go for that hike. The first step is putting on those shoes. Maybe put on some clothes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Depends where you're hiking. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but...
Yeah. But get those shoes on, right? Yeah. Get those shoes on. Take that first step. And then that's going to be a first step into a much different life than what you had before.
Yeah, totally.
And so, whether it's martial arts or whether it's hiking or whether it's podcasting or whatever it is, it's just something, and that's what I would say.
No, definitely, 100% agree with you. And I think the hardest part for a lot of people is that first step, isn't it? It's like going back to my friend that wants to start his YouTube channel. He's so procrastinating about it, thinking, where do I start? Instead of just thinking, right, I'm going to make a video and that's it. Just take that first step. But I know that can be the most difficult part for anyone, and it's the same for me. I mean, I video edit as well, and I've been meaning to edit this video for 2 or 3 weeks now, and I've just been procrastinating over the whole thing, thinking, how do I begin it? It's going to have this and that, and I've started it, and now I can't stop because I'm so into it and I'm so focused. It's like, why didn't I do this before? Why didn't I just start this 3 weeks ago? So I'm just as bad as the next person, but I guess my point is, just if you want to do something and you're worried about it, just do it. Research it even first, isn't it? Go onto YouTube or Google and research if you're a bit unsure about what you're going to do. There's always people out there that are helping these days. There's always help pages on YouTube and all sorts these days, isn't there, with everything? So
exactly, for sure. Yeah, there's always someone going through the same challenge as you.
Yeah.
And
worse, and worse.
Oh yeah, by far worse. But there's always people that you can find inspiration from to help you.
Absolutely. And that goes back again to you saying you go to the gym and you have that kind of community there. It's just to lift the spirits, isn't it? They push you on.
Yep. No, definitely.
Well, great, Tim. Thank you so much for joining me today. There's a little bit at the end of the podcast which I call Turn the Table, and it's a section where the guest gets to ask me a question. So I don't know whether you have a question there you'd like to ask me or whether you'd like to pass today.
Well, I'm going to ask 2 questions. The first question is, now that I know you do martial arts, when this pandemic is over, I would like to spar you in a ring, Guy.
Are you sure you're ready for that?
Are you ready?
I was joking. You're not, though.
No.
Absolutely, man. I would love to do that. I would love to do that. I really enjoyed it when I did it. I forget why I didn't continue with it now. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But no, I really, really enjoyed it. I loved the feeling in and out of the class after as well. You know, it was just such a great thing to do. But yeah, I mean,
Nice.
if I'm ever in Toronto, if I'm ever passing by a gym and you're in there, we'll have a little spa.
There you go.
Are you talking about the kind of spa where you go in, you know, you just chill out in a pool and stuff, a spa like? I'm up for that.
No. It's going to be quite a different experience, guy. No, I guess my question for you is, you know, you've been interviewing all these different people on your podcast about meditations and things like that. Have you ever thought, and I hope this is an okay question to ask, but have you ever thought about expanding your podcast to being visual and perhaps, you know, when this pandemic is over, being able to interview people while they're doing their
like a live
activity or their form of meditation? Like, maybe live. I mean, I know.
Right, I get you. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Because I know sometimes I've been listening to them. I know sometimes I've been listening to your podcast. And although I love audio podcasts, I do like visual ones as well. And I've always wondered, like, sometimes some of the people you're talking to, I'm like, oh, like, I wonder how it is that they're doing that or stuff. Like, is that something that you might do one day?
I mean, I'd love to do that. The only problem, it's the same as what we were saying before. I started my podcast up in the pandemic. That was one of the reasons, not one of the reasons. It just so happened that that's when it happened. So, you know, I've not been unable to go and meet people or see people. And now, like, I can't just come and see you, obviously. There's a big pond in the way.
Yeah.
But no, I would absolutely love to actually meet up with people and do that. I mean, there's a couple of guests that I've had on already. I'd love to just even meet up with them and just do like a YouTube video with them or something, you know. But I do have a YouTube channel for my podcast. I haven't kind of made it live, but it's there, and I'm kind of in the process of making kind of videos for the podcast that I'm doing. It's just going to be kind of images, little bits of videos, depending on what I can get off my guests. Really, I'm just asking my guests to send me like photos and video clips of them doing this, that, and the other, you know, and then just trying to put videos together. Cool. But as you all know, you know, there's only 24 hours in a day, and it's, you know, with everything else, it's just a bit of it's kind of on the back burner at the moment. But no, I am in the process of trying to do that, because I do understand people do prefer visuals, and I'd like to do some kind of Zoom ones as well, you know, not Zoom maybe, but, you know, video live ones. But the reason I didn't do that to begin with, and the reason I'm recording my podcasts the way I do, is because I wanted the audio to be kind of guaranteed and without any glitches. But I find with Zoom chats and stuff, there can be a lot of glitches and cutouts, and I just find that, I don't know, I don't enjoy that, you know, like when it comes to, and especially if you're doing, say, a Zoom chat and then it's like that. It's not so bad if you're watching it visually, but if that's in audio form, it's, I don't know, I don't resonate with that, so to speak. So I guess I'm blaming
quite the perfectionist.
Yeah, and
quite the perfectionist.
I know, and it's a bit of a problem, really. But no, that's definitely something I'd like to do, and nice. In the future.
No, why?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of, you know, this question is kind of a plant, because I look forward to that, guy. If your podcast, you know,
you're pushing me.
I look forward to your podcast. Yeah, I am. I look forward to your podcast all the time, guy. I love listening to it. I do hope people like this podcast, but I do love your podcast, guy, and I do think that, you know, I'd look forward to having a expanded version of it one day. And, I'll support you when you do that. Oh,
cheers, Tim. All your kind words mean a hell of a lot. They really do, you know, because I'm really small time here. Obviously, I'm just like talking. You know, I've just bought a cheap little microphone. I've got my laptop. I'm actually sat in my car now recording this, because I find it's best audio. So I don't have a fancy studio. I don't have any of that. It's very basic, but it works, you know, and it goes, we could go on for ages here, but it goes back again to when people say, I haven't got this or I can't do that. You know, I didn't have anything. I just bought myself a little microphone, put some software onto my laptop, learned how to use that, and away you go. That's it.
Yeah. For sure.
But no, thank you, Tim. Thank you so much for your kind words. Thanks for taking time today. I know you're a busy guy and you've got loads of stuff going on also, so I really do appreciate your time and talking about everything you've talked about, and especially the more private stuff in your life, going back to your grandparents and stuff. I say this in most podcasts. I appreciate anyone that will talk to me about that kind of thing, so thank you very much.
No, thank you so much, Guy. And I really appreciate the time having to talk with you. And I do appreciate you letting me kind of promote my podcast on your podcast. So thank you so much. And I will give it one more plug, Guy. Just, if anyone is interested, audio or video on YouTube or Instagram, it's called Fight In Sight Podcast. It's a great time. We have a good time, and would love to have some new viewers. And if you come to like us via this podcast, please let me know, because I'd love to share that with Guy as well, that that we've been able to do a little bit of cross promotion. And Guy, of course, when this podcast come out, I'll let all my fans, viewers, and listeners know as well on the Fight In Sight podcast. And hopefully they'll become fans of yours like I am.
Cheers, bro. That'll much appreciated. And I'll be leaving the links to Tim's podcast in the show notes for this podcast as well. I know he's just said the name of it there, but if you struggle to find it, just go to the show notes of this podcast and it'll all be there for you. So,
alrighty,
great stuff, Tim. That's the end of our little session. I thank you once again, and I'll be in touch. If I ever get over to Colorado, I'll hit you up and we'll go for that spa.
Toronto.
Oh my God! Don't shoot me now.
Oh my good. Have a good one, Guy. Thank you so much.
Take care, Tim.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, there we go. What a cracking chat that was. It's great to hear someone talk about activities such as martial arts, because my guess is that most people, including myself, think of them as a fairly aggressive hobby or sport, and pretty dangerous too. But after listening to Tim talk about how he used it as a form of meditation in the past, it really does make me look at it from another angle. On the one hand, you're using the activity to let go of all the stresses from life by punching and kicking a bag, or human, letting off some steam, so to speak. And then on the other hand, with all of the concentration that's needed for multiple reasons, it's keeping you present, making you focus on the now, and therefore you're concentrating on exactly what's in front of you. No time for thinking about the past or future, no room for error, otherwise you're likely to get knocked the out. So, why not go and have yourself a little martial arts class? You never know, it might just be the release you need. Thank you once again for tuning in. If you want to join us over on Facebook and Instagram, then search for My Meditation Podcast. I'll leave the links to both in the show notes, as well as the link to the official My Meditation Podcast channel, which you're more than welcome to subscribe to. The Facebook and Instagram page offer positive, inspiring and light-hearted quotes, photos and videos designed to bring a little happiness into your life. If you found any value from this podcast, I'd highly appreciate it if you could rate it and review it. And if you're feeling extra passionate, then please feel free to share it with the world and spread the word. It all helps the channel grow, which in turn means we can reach more people, which means helping more people. These podcasts are getting released every fortnight, so I hope you can join us for the next, and who knows, it could be about an interesting hobby or activity that could possibly be a life changer for you. Until then, take care and have fun, folks. Peace.